promoting and supporting some of the cornerstones of the American experience. It's all about family, faith, and freedom. Now let's get back to the Curtis Report with your host, Barry Curtis.
Welcome back to the Curtis Report. We appreciate you being here, talking about the war on poverty. The war on poverty, $22 trillion spent since 1964, and the rate of poverty, as far as the percentage of people impoverished in this country based on government figures, hasn't changed. 14% in 1967. In 2014, it still was 14%, after $22 trillion being spent. And I said in the earlier segments, folks, this is part of a radical liberal agenda. This is part of the plan. This is not a this is not some bizarre conspiracy. I mean, I think that liberal Democrats will probably tell you much of the same thing without even realizing what they're telling you. They will. By their actions, by their policies, by the laws they try to pass, by the rules and regulations they attempt to enforce, by keeping the poor poor and the rich less rich. That's the point. That's the point of large, radical, liberal, progressive governments. They want to keep the poor poor and make the rich less rich. That's the whole point of it. And when we talk about this war on poverty, when we're talking about these government figures, here's the case in point. The fix is in. It is imperative that a liberal, radical government has a ready set of people they can identify, and they've done that through the numbers, as poor and transgressed. Right? I mean, because there's a lot that goes with being poor. You're just not simply poor and that's it. You're poor and you're black, or you're poor and you're Hispanic, or you're poor and you're Latino, or you're poor and you're Filipino, or you're poor, because that's part of it. You're not only poor to be poor, but you're poor and you're victimized. Not only are you poor, because this is what radical liberal left wing ideology is, and there's lots of belief out there, and I can tell you, I think it's more than an ideology. If you talk to, unfortunately, and I do, talk to left wing people, I mean really left wing ideologues, this isn't just an ideology for them. It's a religion. Radical, liberal, progressive thought, radical, liberal progressivism is a religion. That's why they get so angry. That's why they have a mob mentality. That's why they have group thought and not individual thought. It is a religion for these people. I'm telling you, it's a religion. If you doubt that, go to some of these college campuses. If you doubt that, go up to into some parts of San Francisco, and if you doubt that, ask Mayor de Blasio of New York. If you doubt that radical, liberal, leftist thought is a religion, it is. It's what it's about, and they espouse it like it is. They all, they'll recite the same verses. Have you ever noticed that? It's guns are bad. It's terrible. It's the 1%, the 3%, Occupy Wall Street. It's weird how they all chant the same stuff. Black Lives Matter, hands up, don't shoot. It's so ridiculous. Leftist liberal thought, it is like a theology, a religion. People buy into it and drink the Kool-Aid. But as it relates to these figures, as it relates to the poverty, it is imperative on radical liberal thought that they have a ready-made mass of people to draw upon. Draw upon for what? To draw upon for votes. Draw upon for sympathy. Draw upon for manipulation. So they have to identify them, and they've identified these folks through this formula. of poverty guidelines. And the fix is in on this. This is a joke. The fix is in. It's a lie. These numbers are a lie. The fix is in on these numbers. Do you know why the fix is in on these numbers? Just look at literally look at the government, virtually the government's own numbers. They lie. It isn't real. You know, they separate it by number of people in the household, amount of money earned, and geography. But here's one thing that they don't tout. You know, and you can get these statistics on the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services website. Go to the website, you can get the 2015 poverty guidelines. U.S. federal poverty guidelines use to determine financial eligibility for certain federal programs, about 80 federal programs, totaling about $800 billion a year. But you can go to their website and you can get this information. But here's what they don't tell you. Here's what these figures don't show you. That in calculating the income of those people who are impoverished, for example, let's go to the 48 states here. For example, that family of four in the lower 48 contiguous states and District of Columbia that qualifies for this, that family of four making $24,000, $24,250 or less, here's what they don't tell you about, what they don't include in that. In that amount of money, they don't include government assistance. So here's what they tell you. Oh, okay, here's the amount of money that this poor person makes right here, family of four, $24,000. Here's what they make. That's a lie, because they received government assistance in that year that could amount to $13,000, $14,000, $15,000, $16,000, $17,000 for the family. Is not included in that figure. You add another $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 on top of $24,000, you've got $40,000 that family's getting in housing, food stamps, targeted social programs, free health care. Think about this. The fix is in. You add the income that person actually made, $24,250, family of four in the lower contiguous states, geography-wise. That's the income that they actually made. And you add on top of that government program, the cost of government assistance, those people are making more than you're making. But the fix is in. That's the fix. That's the lie. So all these figures go out the window. All these figures are skewed. So they're not there to help someone out of poverty, because if so, you'd add the number on top of that and say, hey, folks, you're making $40,000 a year with government assistance. You ought to be doing more than what you're doing. But you know what's really interesting is, this is what's interesting. I love these figures. This is what's interesting. And this is why the fix is in. If you look a little closer at the numbers, the consumption of poor families. This is from the U.S. Census Department. Since the Census Bureau dramatically undercounts the actual income of the poor because they don't count government assistance, it should be no surprise to find that the U.S. Department of Labor routinely reports that poor families spend, get this, $2.40 for every $1 of their reported income. In other words, their reported income is $24,000. They're spending $2 more than that. That's the government assistance. Or they can afford to do that as a result of the government assistance. So if public housing benefits are added to the tally, the ratio of consumption to income rises to $2.60 for every $1. In other words, the income figures the Census Bureau uses to calculate poverty dramatically undercount the economic resources available to lower income households. In other words, we're going to make you poor on paper to manipulate the system, to give you benefits, to keep you hoodwinked, to keep you on the line, to keep you voting for us, to keep the manipulation in line, to keep you us on the forefront of your mind. We're doing this to keep you poor. That's what it's all about. Radical leftist thought, this president, Harry Reid, all these radical leftist socialist people, they want to keep the poor poor and the rich less rich. We're going to take a quick break here. And we're going to be back with more of the Curtis Report in just a moment.